is reminding me of some bad family reunions I've been to. This week on Star Trek, teenagers with raging hormones and superpowers can't control themselves and wreak havoc because of their uncontrollable urges. I know, once again, sounds like Twilight, but it's not! It's actually Charlie X. Oh, and don't worry, Charlie X isn't like Weapon X. His bones aren't covered with adamantium or anything, and he doesn't heal himself. He just has the power to manipulate an entire starship, make Spock recite poetry, break Spock's legs, melt Spock's chest pieces. Man, this kid really doesn't like Spock. So there's this starship, and it's called the Antares, and it hands all of its problems off to Captain Kirk when they bring Charlie Evans on board. The captain of the Antares is all smiling and laughing. The whole thing is really awkward, and it's obvious from the start there's something wrong with this kid. Later, we find out that he survived a shuttle crash when he was 3 and lived on this mysterious planet for 14 years, apparently all by himself. But Spock, being logical, points out the legend of the Thasians. They're these legendary beings with superpowers, and he says that maybe this proves that there really is some life down there because there's no way that Charlie could have lived there all by himself. Well, if we didn't know we were in trouble from the teaser, when everything about that awkward captain of the Antares said, "Sorry, Kirk, but you're all gonna die," we sure know it when Charlie says he's never seen a girl before. He gets all obsessed with Yeoman Janice Rand, but of course he's too young and really, really creepy. So she doesn't want anything to do with him. This is probably Grace Lee Whitney's best performance in the series, and it really is her episode. She tries to help ease Charlie out of his first crush, but it gets to the point where she knows what's gonna happen. She says it's happened to her before. I guess some guys just can't resist the urge to try to make her fall in love with them so they can play checkers on her hair. DC Fontana's writing is the best thing about this episode. She does a good job of introducing Charlie's powers slowly at first, and then making them progressively creepy as Charlie gets more and more worked up. It starts with some parlor tricks, and there's this really clever moment where he turns Rand's cards into pictures of herself. You also gotta hand it to the props department, those cards are really nifty. I wonder if they sold those things at the big 40th anniversary auction. The Antares blows up, but I can't say I was too sad about it. Those guys had the same problem the Enterprise does, but their solution? Give him to Captain Kirk! I can just see their conversation in the meeting room on the Antares. Oh, surely Kirk will know what to do with him. If there's one thing we've learned during all our years at Starfleet, it's that in the beginning, there was Roddenberry, and Roddenberry was good. Then, he made Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and made them all the main characters, and they were good. Well, they can't die. Ever. But we're totally expendable. Some miracle will have to happen to prevent Charlie Evans from blowing up the Enterprise. Well, I guess they forgot that Charlie's powers are pretty unlimited. He blew up the Antares after he left, just because they weren't nice enough to him. And good riddance, I say. What kind of self-respecting Starfleet officer is just given an extremely dangerous problem to some other unsuspecting ship? I like Kirk's characterization here a lot. Bones tries to get him to mentor Charlie, but he avoids that responsibility until things start to get out of hand. But before Charlie starts making Kirk's sparring partners disappear, It's really impressive how Kirk keeps standing up to this kid, even when he's making people disappear. He takes some big risks, but it's obvious that Charlie looks up to him. Kirk can push him pretty far without Charlie wanting him dead. I like the part where Kirk says everybody dies and Charlie says, not you. When Charlie completely takes over the ship and starts making a lot of horrifying things happen, and I do mean horrifying, man, if ladies started aging rapidly and losing their faces, I'd probably jump right out the nearest airlock. Kirk, as usual, has a plan. He figures Charlie has extended his power too far in controlling the entire ship because he hasn't made anybody disappear since he started controlling it, so maybe Kirk can distract him so McCoy can tranquilize him. Well, it's a pretty good plan, but we never get to see it work. What I don't like about this episode is that my whole hypothetical conversation on the Antares was right. Some miracle really does save the Enterprise. Kirk doesn't get out of this situation on his own. The Thasians show up. They apologize for not getting there before the Antares was destroyed, but they bring back everyone Charlie sent off to oblivion, and then they say, everything is as it was. But Charlie doesn't want to go back with them because they don't love, he says, and he can't even touch them. And considering that floating green old guy's head on the bridge, I don't even really know why they'd want to, or why he'd want to, but there's really no other way to ensure the safety of any humans Charlie happens to be with. I guess the Thasians can't get rid of someone's powers once they get them. So this situation is solved for Kirk, even though he had a perfectly good plan that might have worked. You know, at least in the short run. Of course, this is an impossible situation. What would they do with him once he woke up? Keep him in a coma forever? I mean, they tried putting him behind a force field, and that didn't work. And neither did anything else they tried. Well, it's time for this episode's very important lesson. Teenage boys are obnoxious. Teenage boys with superpowers are not only obnoxious, they kill people. If you come across one of these, treat him like an agent in the Matrix. Run the other way. It's amazing to me that the X-Men ever caught on. An interesting note, a number of Trek alum actors got together in 2007 for the 40th anniversary of Star Trek and made a movie called Of Gods and Men. Nichelle Nichols, Walter Koenig, Tim Russ, and Alan Ruck, as John Harriman, the captain who became notorious in Generations for being so incompetent that he killed Captain Kirk. They're just some of the stars in it. In the movie, Charlie Evans returns to get his revenge on Kirk, and he uses the Guardian of Forever to go back in time and kill Kirk's parents. It's really weird, and it didn't have the best production value. Maybe I'll review it one of these days. Interestingly, that movie blew up Vulcan before J.J. Abrams did it in Star Trek XI. What is this obsession with seeing Vulcan go kablooey? I give Charlie X 3 bananas. There are some really terrifying moments, which are still pretty creepy by today's standards. The best thing about it is its ability to make a teenager, though he's only motivated by hormones, a great challenge to Kirk. He's not entirely unsympathetic. As McCoy and Kirk both say, he's acting like a regular 17-year-old, except one with the power to take away people's faces and make them disappear and melt chess piece faces when Spock is mean enough to beat him in like 3 turns. It's just too bad that Kirk couldn't somehow solve this problem himself. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.